The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this final webinar presentation of the Executive Training Program to Japan and Korea. My name is Marie Mormons. I am a cluster coordinator for Brussels and London cluster, and I'm here with Kaina Bensalim of the Central Management Unit here in Brussels. Good morning, everyone. And we are joined today with Agnieszka, ETP Japan alumni from the cycle that happened in 2012-2013, and she will share with us her testimonial as ETP participant. Before getting into the presentation itself, a couple points that I would like to raise on practical details. You are all muted during the presentation in order to avoid interference and feedback noise. But you will have the option nonetheless to raise any question you may have during the presentation and before the Q&A session that is foreseen at the end. Please also let us know if you have any technical difficulties through this channel during the webinar. You will also have the opportunity to participate in quick polls during the presentation, short questions that you will be able to answer via this channel also. The agenda for today is first a short presentation by myself on the Executive Training Program itself, the format and modalities, followed by a short focus on Japan and South Korea and why ETP is focusing on those markets, and a third point on the application and selection process of ETP. This short presentation will be followed by Agna's testimonial. She will share with us her experience and benefits of participation through the program. And a third element will be the Q&A session at the end, through which we will answer any questions that are raised during the presentation. So first of all, what is ETP? ETP is an EU-funded program with the aim of supporting EU companies and their managers willing to develop their career and business activities on the Japanese and Korean markets. It is designed to help those companies to acquire an understanding of the specificities of the Japanese and Korean economies, the language and business cultures that are essential to succeed on both markets. And the program offers a proven formula of a one-year active learning combining both business and language training at top academic partners, namely the School of Oriental and African Studies in London, Waseda University in Tokyo, and Yonsei University in Seoul. An internship at a local company in either Japan or Korea, and a scholarship provided by the European Commission for the entirety of the program. The ETP is a well-established program. It celebrates its 35th year of existence this year in Japan and has been in operation for 11 years in Korea now. So why ETP? Both Japan and Korean markets are key target markets for the European Commission and offer very good business opportunities for European companies. Nevertheless, the way business is done in Japan and Korea is so vastly different to how it is done in Europe that companies and executives doing business there need to be provided some specialist skills and insights necessary in order to successfully develop in those markets. And this is the rationale behind the ETP program, and increasing the number of EU companies operating both in Japan and Korea is a strategic imperative for the European Commission. To date, more than 1,100 European managers from over 20 different sectors across all EU member states have completed the program. And through regular feedback collected among participants and their companies, the benefits of ETP program are clearly visible, with 65% of ETP alumni who move on to become top executives within their company. And the benefits are also important for sponsor companies who report a related turnover in Japan and Korea that is doubled over 10 years following completion of the program. So why the focus of ETP on Japan and South Korea? Japan is the EU's 7th largest trading partner globally and the EU's 2nd biggest trading partner in Asia after China. The EU and Japan officially launched the negotiations for a free trade agreement in March 2013, with the 5th round of negotiation on the EU-Japan economic agreement held in Tokyo between March 31st and April 4th this year. And the schedule of the next round will be arranged through diplomatic channels in the coming months. Successful conclusion of this ambitious trade agreement could increase EU GDP by 0.6% and boost EU exports to Japan by 1/3. So pretty tangible benefits for European companies. South Korea is the EU's 10th largest trading partner. And the EU-Korea Free Trade Agreement already entered into force in July 2011. This FTA has been the first of a new generation of free trade agreements that went further than ever before at lifting trade barriers and making it easier for European and Korean companies to conduct business together. As the FTA lowered import tariffs for European products at the Korean border, EU exports to the peninsular country have grown steadily, and the EU has recorded a trade surplus with Korea for the first time in 15 years. So the ETP aims at strengthening the presence of EU managers and companies in both Korea and Japan, as well as strengthening cultural and business link between both countries and the EU. At this stage, we'd like to launch a first quick poll, and are interested in hearing which of these two markets are of strongest interest to you. So you have about a minute to complete this survey before we move on into more details into the ETP program itself. All right, thanks for this. So now into the specifics of the executive training program itself. How does it work? The ETP is divided in 3 different modules, one of which takes place here in the EU, and 2 then go on to the chosen markets in total immersion. So practically, the ETP starts with 3 weeks of training during the inception module that takes place in the School of Oriental and African Studies in London, and provides an intensive training on cultural, social, and historical aspects of both target markets. This is followed by 42 weeks in Japan or Korea for training combining both business and language at Waseda University in Tokyo and Yonsei University in Seoul, as mentioned before. And this training session, MBA-style training session, combines different active learning methods, including interactive lectures, case studies, group work, discussions, business game presentation, problem solving, and other types of activities. It is about 60% focused on language, either Japanese or Korean, and 40% on business courses. In addition to these in-class training, I'd say, there are all sorts of networking and social activities organized in order to build a network in the countries and familiarize yourself with the culture and the environment. And then this training session is followed by an internship in a local company, either in Japan or Korea, during which participants are able to put into practice the skills and knowledge that they acquired through the first part of the immersion module. So there are clear benefits of participation for individuals, but also for companies that participate in the ETP. First of all is the acquisition of unique and valuable competencies through active learning, and including market knowledge that is absolutely essential in order to develop activities in those difficult markets. It is also a unique opportunity to gain an extensive network of business contacts abroad in those specific markets through the networking activities organized, and also, of course, through the internship in the local company. Participants are also actively working on business plans during their participation in the executive program, which is often remembered by companies as it is providing a lasting impact for the development of activities in Japan or Korea for the company. And of course, ETP is fully funded by the European Commission for the entirety of the program, covering tuition fees, as well as a scholarship of 26,400 for Japan and 24,000 for Korea, meaning a highly reduced investment, of course, for both participants and companies that would like to explore opportunities on those markets. So, if you are interested in ETP, how can you proceed with your application if you have not done so yet? The main resource here is our website, as the application process takes place entirely online. A first step is to check minimum eligibility requirements if you have not done so yet. There are sets of requirements for executives and individuals on one side, and the EU sponsoring company on the other side. Very briefly, for the executive, there are eligibility requirements in terms of citizenship, of course, but also in terms of education and employment, meaning that participants must be employed with a sponsoring company that meets the eligibility criteria for at least a year prior to taking part in the program. And as English language will be the main language of the program, good knowledge of English is also important. For companies, there are also requirements in terms of company size, employee turnover, and first and foremost, participating company must be EU-based, have an interest in those markets, either having already developed some activities on those markets or planning to do so. And the full list is, of course, available on our website. After checking these requirements, you are invited, either as an executive or as a company, to fill in an expression of interest form, an EOI form, on our website, which then will be assessed by the ETP team. There are important points to be noted for the executives that complete an EOI. It is absolutely essential to discuss this opportunity with your company, as sponsorship is an eligibility requirement. And following an assessment of your EOI, local points of contact will then be in touch with you for the details on the rest of the application and selection process. If you are a company, it is, of course, essential to identify a candidate within the company, which will then be the ETP participant for your company. And then following assessment of the EOI, similarly to what is done for executives, local points of contact will then be in touch with you with further details on the next steps of the process. Important dates: the training cycle for ETP will take place during between November 2014 and November 2015. And the deadline for application is this coming 15th of May. I believe it's a Thursday. But yeah. Voilà, so those are the important dates and important information regarding applications to the program. Now, there are a number of resources should you wish to obtain more information on ETP. The first one is the website, which contains all the information that you should need before submitting your initial expression of interest. There is a general email address, info@euetp.eu, and there are a number of local contacts depending on the member state in which your company is based. The Brussels office, the Hamburg office, the London office, the Madrid office, and the Warsaw office. And the countries for which these offices are points of contacts are listed here. You are, of course, welcome to contact any of those offices for any questions you may have or any guidance you may need. ETP also is active on the main social media. We have a LinkedIn page, a Twitter page, and a Facebook account on which we post ongoing activities, recent events, and any information that you might be interested in throughout the application and selection process. And now we will move on to the testimonial by our ETP alumni, and I now pass the floor to you, Aga.
Yes, hello, thank you very much, everyone in Europe. Good morning. If there's anyone in Asia, good afternoon. My name is Agnieszka Szczęśniak, or just easier Aga, and I'm a global business development and Japanese company. I was participating in the previous cycle of executive training program, and today I will try to give you some overview and my opinion and some feedback on over the ETP. I will try to cover the selection process, the inception model in London, and obviously the main part I will try to focus on everything that happens in Japan, so the language and the business components, the internship, and the living conditions in Japan. If you have any questions, I believe there will be Q&A later, so please type them in and I will be happy to answer them. So about the ETP program by itself, first I have to say that Japan and Korea are extremely special countries. I have quite a lot of experience with doing the international business with European and Asian countries. And what I have learned, and actually the program proved, is that Japan has its own rules. Unfortunately, every fourth international business is failing in Japan. And since many years, we are trying to answer the question, why is that? And I believe this is why also the European Union decided 30 years ago to support European companies and provide this program, so that right now we can actually extend our business in Japan. We can actually try to understand the differences that Japan and Korea has and actually try to overcome them. So the program, as it was mentioned before, is covering the language components and the business. However, before I will move towards explaining those, I think that what might be quite helpful for you is to understand the whole idea of what you can gain out of the program. I very often use this image of opportunities, that this ETP program is a huge opportunity for you for all the international business managers that are actually interested in doing business in Japan. And I compare it to as exclusive and unique limited edition of box of chocolates. So just imagine that you are giving this limited edition of chocolates, and this is very much up to you how you're going to use it, how you're going to utilize this opportunity. You might actually eat it and enjoy yourself. So you might come to Japan for 1 year, spend nice time, though I already say it's not a holiday, it's actually quite a tough year. You might actually invest in the box of chocolate, and you can share it with your colleagues, and by this extend your business network. You can obviously invest, get some money, or you can try to get the recipe and then try to develop your own business. So this is how I understand the ETP program. If you will participate, you will be giving a lot of different chances and opportunities how to actually develop your business. However, as a manager, you are responsible for actually creating a strong objectives and action plan of what would you like to achieve and what you will have to do during this program. Probably right now it's still not clear much how I see the program, so I will move forward to all sections, and probably by the end you will understand my vision of it. So the first all of you will have to go through the selection process. In my case it was done in Brussels. The last stage is the face-to-face interview in Brussels. In my case it was obviously the Brussels representative from Japan and Hudson River Resources. As I spoke to my colleagues, that interview was actually one of the hardest interviews most of us ever had in our lives. The reason for that is that the European Commission is trying to do all the best to actually make the best selection ever. This is a very difficult, very tough program. 1 year, can you hear me? Sorry. 1 year of hard work. So what the Hudson River Resources is trying to do is actually to feed the people to the program, so that actually after spending 10, 11 hours, 7 days a week together, we're still gonna be able to work together. So the interview is the discussion about your plans, your goals in Japan. Probably by this stage you will have to deliver the draft of the business plan, and for the whole year you will be actually working on developing a strong business case to enter the Japanese market or to extend your business in Japan. There will be also quite a lot of tests that will check your suitability, your openness for the different cultures, how you're measuring the stress. But yeah, I should not tell you all the secrets, because this is actually very important that you will fit well to the program, which I believe so many of you will do. If you will be obviously successful and you will be invited to participate in the program, the first stage is so-called Inception model that will take part in London. During 3 weeks, you will be giving a huge amount of knowledge about Japanese culture, society, economy, law. And my advice would be try to learn as much as possible. You will be also provided with a lot of documents to read. From my experience, try to read all the documents you will be given in London, because after that you will actually have no time to go back, because obviously in Japan you will be receiving much more of handouts to read and prepare yourself to the classes. So as to London, the biggest part obviously is the knowledge of history of Japan, which is very crucial, because when you are talking to Japanese, especially in business, they are very impressed if you know anything about the country. And since Japan and Korea are very based on relation building, obviously this knowledge will help you maintain the relations with your business partners. From the practical information regarding the London, let me think. I remember that few of my colleagues had a question about the use of computers, how you should get ready for this 3 weeks. Computer is, as far as I remember, not crucial, but it can help you to actually cover the materials. It's an extremely interesting program in London, run by obviously quite very good lecturers from London University. Yes. that will be about SOAS. Oh, sorry, one more thing. The program will require you to actually learn before coming to Japan hiragana and katakana, which might be quite funny at this stage. However, I would really encourage you to spend as much time as possible, because after coming to Japan, you literally have no time for anything. Okay, so let's say that you are successful with London. You went through all the modules. You will have 1 month break before you will start the program in Japan. At the end, I will cover the accommodation and the moving conditions. So just try to use this this month to try to get ready as much as possible for Japan. I know this is Christmas, this is the New Year Eve, and most probably, if you are considering to going for 1 year to Japan, you will have desire to spend as much time with your family as possible. But don't forget that in Japan you will have not really much time for anything. So Japan. The program in Japan is divided, as it was said, into 2 parts, actually 3 parts. It's language, which is 60% of the program, business part, which is 40% of the program, and there's also the internship, which is actually a very crucial and important part of the whole program. So after the language, also, of course, I'm speaking on behalf of the Japanese program, but to my knowledge, Korean is more or less the same. This is a very intense course of acquiring abilities to speak in Japanese. As you might know, Japanese is one of the hardest languages in the world, and honestly speaking, you cannot learn the Japanese in 1 year unless you are language genius. However, the program will give you very strong grants for the language abilities. If you are considering yourself to actually doing business in Japan, you should speak Japanese. You should be able to communicate in this language, especially that the Japanese actually don't speak English or any other language. So either you're gonna go in business through the interpreter, or you're gonna learn your business and language. Obviously, if you're gonna go through the interpreter, you will not build a strong relation with your business partner. So the language component is trying to cover the basics of the Japanese language. As well as the business language, which is also very important, especially that, as I said, the internship in the Japanese company, you will be actually most probably using the Japanese that you've learned in the previous months. As I said, the program is very intense. The first 2 months are focusing 8 hours a day on the Japanese. Every day you will have to learn about 30 new words, plus the new set of grammar, of the new set of kanjis. So there is really a lot of things to learn. I would suggest you to do a very good quick check if you can do it. Write down 150 words and try to learn them day by day, about 50 per day, and then you will see how it will actually look like in Japan. Every week you will have about 6 tests. 6 quizzes, 6 to 10 depends on the day. So this is very actually important that the program is checking on the daily basis how you're coping with acquiring the new knowledge, and that you actually on the date with everything. The second part is the business components. And this is the very interesting actually part, because from the Waseda point of view, so the university where the program is run, and just to make the interface, Waseda University is one of the top universities in Japan, business universities. Whenever you will speak in business, you will be asked which university have you graduated. The amazing thing in Japan actually is that no matter how old are you, what's your age, if you're 30, 40, 50, 80s, the Japanese love to talk about the education, the university education. So actually, if you will be able to say that you graduated from Waseda Daigaku, from Waseda University, it will help you open quite a lot of doors. you will be able to receive quite a lot of appraisal from the Japanese people. So yeah, from Waseda point of view, I believe this is a very difficult task to satisfy about 35 people from different countries with different backgrounds, with different expectations. But from my opinion, the program is done really well. So on the business components, you will be learning about the Japanese economy, about Japanese finance, about Japanese marketing, Japanese distribution system. Okay, and yeah, these are just the examples. Obviously, I cannot remember all of the modules we've been covering because there were so many of them. The whole idea is that the program is only delivering you the basics. So this is actually your responsibility to pick what's important for you and build upon that. So as I said, this is kind of a box of chocolate. You are giving a variety of opportunities, and it's your responsibility to choose actually what's crucial to your business and try to develop it further. Okay. Yes. The very important thing here is that if you're considering participating in the executive training program, is to actually understand one thing. This is almost like an MBA program, but it's not an MBA program. This is just the overview of what's happening in Japan. During our program, quite a few people had a lot of comments that the program was not done correctly, or it could be done better, that in Europe we would done the things differently. And actually the person responsible for the business component, Ikegami-sensei, once said a very important and very wise statement, which actually I do appreciate, and that changed a lot my my understanding and my opinion about the program, is that you coming to Japan to actually understand why Japan is so different, why Japan is acting on the different layers than the other countries, why the things that are working in the rest of the world are not actually working in Japan. And you cannot learn this from the books. You have to actually experience. So this is the way how the program is a little bit done. The business components and the language components are run obviously by the Japanese teachers. Just one mark, the language component obviously is run in Japanese. The business components are run in English. So, or like, yeah, mostly in English. So you should be able to understand what the lecturers are talking to you. You will be giving plenty of materials to read to give you the better understanding of the covered topics. We will have the case studies you will be working on. However, as I said, the modules are run by the Japanese experts. So this is completely different than if it would be run by the European teachers, lecturers. Sorry. But this gives you the understanding that the Japanese are acting in a certain way. They behave in a certain way because they are taught in a certain way, and the way how they've been learning from the high school and university is actually reflecting quite a lot of life patterns, business decision processes, and the attitudes towards the people that are dealing with. So as I said, JJ said a very important thing is that you coming to Japan to try to understand how the things in Japan works and why they are working so differently. And this program, the business, especially the business components, are showing you those differences. Okay, then the third part of the internship, the third part of the program in Japan is the internship. Actually, this is a very important part. I would say the best part from the whole program, because for the 3 months you will be placed in a Japanese company where you can actually execute the gain knowledge of Japanese and business in the real life. However, about the internship, this is the participants' responsibility to secure the internship, and it's not as easy as it seems like, unless you have a very good, strong partners in Japan that you can actually say that you would like to come for 3 months and work for them, then it works fine. But like most of my colleagues and myself, we didn't really have that. So it was very important that from the very first day in Japan, we was trying to secure our internship. It actually took us quite a lot of time, quite a few months. This is also the specific of the Japanese market, and my best takeout from this one program is that actually everything in Japan takes time. So you cannot expect that things will rush up completely on the opposite side. It will really go very slowly because there are some processes involved in a decision-making phase. So the internship, it is your responsibility to secure it. You will have a few months for that. The internship starts in August. So by July, June, July, you should already have a confirmation from the company. However, don't worry. Also, the ETP Secretariat and Waseda University is giving huge help in finding the internship. Also, during the whole program, you will have quite a few business networking meetings run by ETPA, the Executive Training Program Association, run by Waseda University, and run by Executive Training Program Secretary. So you will have a lot of actual options to build your network in Japan. And also the other thing that I have learned in Japan is that about the networking is that even if today you might think that the person you spoke might not be interested in your business, actually in few weeks, months, years, this person might be quite crucial to you, as everything in Japan is based on networking and relations. So from word to word, from person to person, you can actually do your business. So never underestimate people you're actually meeting in Japan. Yes, about the internship then. For me, I was lucky to got my internship in Sony Corporation headquarters in Tokyo. And it was an amazing experience because, of course, I was trying to utilize my Japanese knowledge, Japanese language knowledge, and whatever I've learned about the business in Japan. And then the importance of the program came up, that no matter what you would read, no matter how much you would read, the real life has its own scenarios. And of course, I made plenty of mistakes. It was actually very funny that on a daily basis I've accidentally done something wrong. However, the Japanese people are very friendly, very helpful, so they were really trying to support me during those 3 months. And after the internship, I have realized how much actually I have learned during those 3 months. So I think that as for the executive training program, the internship is the strongest point for understanding the business, because here is the real body where you can actually check your knowledge and gain the new knowledge. Okay, from the practical information about living in Japan and studying here, the grant, you will be giving the grant every month. I mean, you will be giving a monthly set of the grant. However, it will be paid to you, as far as I know, every 3 months. So be ready to actually finance yourself for the first half year, more or less, or 5 months. However, the grant is it's very good, especially right now if you will see the exchange rate for yen. It will be enough to cover the average, let's say, accommodation and obviously the living expenses. Tokyo is not cheap, but it's not extremely expensive. I think if you're clever, you can find your way around. Also, my advice is don't really try to find the apartment. If it's not possible, don't try to find the apartment around the university, but just rather try to enjoy the city. And even if you will have to actually commute a bit longer, it is also a pretty good experience for you to actually learn about the city. The cost localization, yes, probably a few of you might wondering if you can combine the executive training program this 1 year in Japan with your work back in your country. I would say no, you can't. This is really extremely intense program. It's 8 hours, sometimes 12 hours a day at the university. Plus, there is quite a lot of learning back home in the evening. As I said, on the daily basis, you have tests and quizzes that you have to pass. Also, at the end of every module, every few months, there is a check test, which by your contract you will be obviously obligated to pass those tests. So there is quite a lot of work, and also, as I said, you have to ask yourself why you're coming to Japan. If you just want to have a holidays, I think there are much better ways of spending your holidays than coming to learn. However, if you're really serious about your business, about your future career development in Japan, then it means that you have to dedicate this 1 year for the personal development, for learning the language and learning the business. You might also be wondering if you can come with your families. Yes, we did have on my program a few people coming with spouses and children. Also, we have one single mom with 2 children. She did manage through the program, though I know it was very hard for her. Also, the children were able to find the international school in Tokyo. So probably you should be fine with the families, but again, it will be very tough for you. Okay, as for the studies, the program will provide you with all important materials, the books and the handouts, so you don't really have to get anything extra apart from the pencil, I guess. Yes, during the program you will also have quite a few social events. One of them will be organized by the Wasuda Daigaku and Hitachi families, the homestay. Of course, it's up to your choice if you would like to experience the homestay with Japanese family or not. It is run for a few years right now. It's taking place in Hitachi. There is a set of families that for 1 weekend are taking the ETP participants and trying to show them the Japanese lifestyle. Very interesting experience. Yeah, the ladies will have a chance to learn to wear kimonos, as I know this is on the yearly basis, and obviously a good way to find new friends in Japan. Okay, let me see if I covered everything that I was supposed to cover. Yeah, so from my opinion, the executive training program is one of the best programs you could ever find in terms of Japanese market. It gives you everything that you need in order to, and this is what's important, start doing business in Japan. It's kind of an enabler for you to kick off the activities in the country. Very often we also say that the executive training program is actually a bridge between Europe and Japan, and this is very true. Japan, being the third economy, actually lost its place because a few years ago it was second, now it's the third economy in the world. And Japanese are actually really struggling also with doing business with us. So what they are doing, they're trying also to look for the new ways how to vitalize the economy, the Japanese economy. And this is why now is a very good time for European companies and European managers to come to Japan and try to execute this opportunity. Yeah, and the very last point from me about the executive training program is that there are many things you can learn from the books. There are many things you can learn from the internet. However, actually participating in the program gives you this something intangible that will give you the extra values later on. And as it was said previously, quite a few people actually who participated in Japan, in that executive training program, has achieved quite a good personal and professional development later on. As for me, I was able, after the program, to get a job in a Japanese company, and right now I'm trying to help the company go global, to develop their businesses in Europe and Asia. Okay, so this is it from my side. I hope you could understand my point of view. I do recommend you to consider the executive training program, but you have to be very determined for that. If you have any questions, please ask.
Okay, thank you very much, Agnieszka, for this useful sharing of your experience from the executive training program participation. So during the webinar, you were able to submit your questions regarding this program. So I will now read these questions that we received out loud and try my best to give a complete answer to them. So one question was the following: both my company and I are interested in the program. Should I apply as an EU executive or under the EU company? So actually, the best way to apply to this program is first to express interest through the expression of interest form, and best as an EU executive. So if both you and your company are interested in participating, this is really good, because you have to have your company support before you can be accepted as a candidate. So I would suggest to fill in the expression of interest as an EU executive, and then we will check this form on the eligibility criteria, which are mentioned on the website under who can participate. And if you're eligible, you will receive a username and password with which you can then proceed to the application form. Of course, as an EU executive, you can only apply for one cycle, so either going to Japan or to Korea. If your company has interest in both countries, there's always an idea to submit an EOI under that company that is also interested in another country. And then if there's no person appointed for a specific country yet, then it can be an EU company EOI, and then it's important that the company finds within the company the person that can apply for either Japan or Korea. So I hope that covers this question. Another question was regarding the possibility to get the whole PowerPoint presentation of the webinar after the webinar, and indeed we will send out the presentation of the webinar still today, so you can read through the slides at your convenience, and if you have any other questions, use the email addresses to contact your cluster coordinator with more questions. Another question was regarding the scholarship amount. So if the scholarship amount is enough money to stay in Japan and Korea, so asking about the average costs for accommodation, dinner, transportation, so that the person interested in the program can calculate the amount of his investment. I think this question was more or less covered by Agnieszka in her presentation. So normally the monthly allowance should cover your daily expenses. As the average allowance for Japan is a bit higher than for Korea, yeah, it's clear that Tokyo is a bit more expensive than Seoul, and it's a bit depending on, of course, your manner of living, how much can be covered by the allowance, but it should be, for normal living expenses, should be sufficient. Then is there a question around the learning of Japanese or Korean language? So if there's a possibility, if you're already fluent in either Japanese or Korean, to attend more advanced lessons. So the language tests will happen at several moments in time during your application. So there will be a first test during the assessment center, which is then part of your final assessment if you get selected or not, to see what is your ability to learn a language. If you already here can demonstrate that you're that you're already fluent, or you can already speak some Japanese or Korean, this will let you score higher on this part of the test, of course. Then if you're selected during the Inception model in London, there will also be language tests that estimate your level of Japanese or Korean before you will go into the immersion model in Japan or Korea. So indeed, the group will then be divided into the different groups depending on your level of the language. Another question is regarding the interviews. So during the assessment center, if you're already based in Seoul, how is it handled? Because as you all know, the assessment center takes place in Brussels, but if people are located already in Seoul or Tokyo, we can make exceptions by taking the interview via Skype. So yeah, this is a question for later, but if you're in the end selected after submitting your application, we can set up a specific schedule for you to conduct the interview online. Another question talks about requirements for EU executives because the criteria are not clear. So I will just repeat what we mentioned on the website for the EU executives. So first of all, the program is only open for citizens of the European Union. So the person applying as an EU executive should have a valid identity card or passport from one of the EU member states. Then as the support of the sponsor company is crucial for participation in this program, the applicant should be employed by the sponsor company for at least 1 year. Then the program is handled in English most of the time, so the EU executive should have an excellent command of English. Then he should not previously have participated in the ETP, of course, given it's only makes sense to participate once in this program. And then regarding the education requirements, the EU executive should have either a university degree of bachelor level and then have 3 years of professional experience as an executive, or have 2 years of higher education and then have a 5 years professional experience as an executive. Let me check the other questions. Another question is, what are the engagements for my company since the grant is signed by the EU executives? Do they have to pay me during the program? So actually, as there is a monthly grant given to the EU executive, there's no obligation from the EU company, sponsor company, to pay his executive in addition, but we always recommend that if the company sponsors the participation of the executives, that there are additional ways of supporting his participant. This can be by either offering a plane ticket back to the country of origin, having insurance covered by the company, maybe having a small monthly pay on top of the allowance, but all these things are not mandatory for selection or participation in the program. It is encouraged though, but not mandatory. Another question is about the selection process and if there's a possibility to apply the next year if you're not selected. So unfortunately, we are currently hosting the last cycle of the executive training program in its current format to Japan and Korea. So in this format, there's only possibility to apply before mid-May, and if you miss the selection, there's no chance to apply again next year. We are looking into other opportunities to offer the program in maybe different format and to different countries in the future, but there's no details on that yet. Okay, then another question is about the sponsor company being Japanese. So that's not possible, of course. The program is there to promote European business developing in Japan and Korea. So having a Japanese company, even if it's having a subsidiary office in Europe, doesn't really make sense for the EU to send people to Japan. Then, is there an emphasis on particular business fields such as IT, retail, and food? So no, in general, there's just general business and management courses, even though, the people applying or participating in the program are coming from different industry sectors or services. We do not focus on specific sectors. You can, have this focus when you apply for an internship in a Japanese company or Korean company. Then maybe best that you choose a company which is closer to your own sector of business. Another question is, what is the time limit for filling the applications, 15 or 31st of May? When will the applicants know about a possible interview at the assessment center? So the deadline mentioned on the website is 15th of May. Of course, we can always make exceptions, but this is only in really exceptional cases. So if you have interest, it's best to start this application as soon as possible, as the aim is to get a really qualitative application that makes more we have more chances to get selected. We will have to have some time to update from your side, check it from our side. So as soon as you are have the approval of your company to apply, we recommend you strongly to fill in the application, that it's complete and final at 15th of May. Then the applicants will know about the assessment center. I think it will be more or less quite quick after the application. So by the end of May, or mid-June, you will normally know if you were invited, as the assessment center already starts in June. So then another question about the internship ships in Japan and Korea. So these companies can be suggested. It's both up to you, as with the support of the university representatives, to find an internship company. But if your company in Europe currently has partnerships with some companies in Japan or Korea which you think are valuable for your business, you can also suggest that company to do an internship with. And then another question about the criteria to join this program. For this question, I would refer you to the website under who can participate. You have the different criteria, either as an EU executive, which I summed up a bit earlier, and also the minimum requirements for the EU companies. So actually, it's important, either if you fill in an EOI, either as an EU executive or as an EU company, that doesn't really make sense for the requirements. All of the requirements that are mentioned there should be filled before you can be eligible and proceed to the application. I'm going to check if there were questions that I missed. So there's another question about start as a beginner in Japanese, which relates to the question of being more fluent already in Japanese. So indeed, it's both open for people that do not speak Japanese or Korean at all, as people that already have some level of Japanese or Korean language knowledge, and that will then be assessed during first the assessment center, and then later if you're selected at the inception model.
If I can follow up on this question, is that both in the current cycle and my cycle, most of the people were actually the beginners. So if you don't speak Japanese, don't worry. The program will give you all the basics. For people that are more advanced in Japanese, also there will be the advanced group for the people that have a better understanding of the language. So it will actually fit most of the needs.
Okay, thank you for this contribution. More questions are coming in. So another question is about the application form. Some fields say wrong answer. What to do? So there, it's a bit difficult to just say what to do, because I'm not sure about which fields you're talking, but I think in that case you have a local cluster coordinator. It's best to contact this person, and he will assist you and coach you with the application submitting. So I think it's best that you contact the cluster coordinator directly via email or via phone. Another question is about declining the interest of joining the program. Also here, best to directly contact your cluster coordinator, as she can or he can inform you better and in detail on why you're not meeting the requirements or why they turned your expression of interest down. Then another question about the type of executive. So a freelance consultant affiliated or working with a consulting company can have chances to be selected. The most important thing is that you have a fixed contract with your company. So if it's as a freelance, it should be a fixed contract. So you cannot join as your as an independent, in your own state of freelancer as a company, given you have to at least 5 employees and have a minimum of 500,000 or more or less turnover. So really the company sponsoring should be big enough to support your participation. I think we covered most of the questions, so I want to thank you all for your attendance. I hope you received all the information you needed about the executive training program. As mentioned, if you have more questions, please do not hesitate to contact us via the general info email address, or if you're already in contact with your local cluster coordinator, please do contact them if you need further questions. Reminder, so the deadline will be 15th of May, so do please submit your applications by this date to have the possibility to get selected for the last cycle of ETP. Thank you very much and enjoy your day.
Thank you.